What is a practice, a policy, or a piece of technology that you or your business or organization could not have operated successfully without as you started your journey transitioning to a remote workforce? What is a practice, policy, or piece of technology you could not operate without? And joining us today, Billi, I know that you have just helped wrap the Cultivo Accelerator with international agricultural startups. Would you be able to talk a little bit about what helped you as that accelerator was continuing?
Well, I'm going to take a little bit more personally, and thank you for the opportunity to be on this panel today. If you would have thought 18 months ago, doing something on Zoom, doing virtual, we would all be 100% comfortable with, we all probably would have shook our head and ran from a Zoom call. I would say some of the biggest tools that helped us is actually like Microsoft Teams and Zoom. We run our operation, our not-for-profit, much like a startup. You know, we're lean, we try to get things done, we try to deliver as quick as we can. But the tools that have developed even through like Microsoft over the past 18 months blows my mind. And so one of my favorite tools to keep me focused is Microsoft's Cortana. And I don't know if anyone else has that personal assistant you can get through Teams on your computer, but it has truly helped me with what I call Zoom jam. It's kind of like a traffic jam. You can be on Zoom calls nonstop all day long. But she'll go in there and block times for me to stop, think, do some planning, prepare. And so I love how technologies that we started using at the beginning of the pandemic and how far they've advanced even over the last 18 months is helping us do tools every day. But I think most of the panelists will say the same thing. We could not have done this without having virtual tools like Zoom and Microsoft Teams.
Thank you, Billi. Joseph, I have talked to you and I've talked to Roboflow about your transition. Your startup really began with the intention to be distributed, to have a distributed workforce. Can you talk about something that has really helped you in that success as you've continued?
Yeah, happy to do so. I want to echo the sentiment of others. Enjoy the opportunity to be here with you today. I'm in a nice little Gravitate phone booth downtown, which that's why it looks like I might be recording something. So at Roboflow, it was only Brad and myself when the pandemic initially hit. And actually, believe it or not, in February 2020, we actually did a trip of co-working together in different parts of the world. And we were in Taiwan, like 1 month before, like all this stuff sort of came up and hit just 1 month later in March. And during the summer, we wanted the opportunity to like be in the same spot and kind of work together. And it was just us, right? So it was pretty easy to develop that camaraderie. So we actually rented a house out on University, 44 University. And at the time we recently hired one engineer. And so the three of us kind of worked in person. So the way that we like hacked the pandemic was with our tiny team, we just kind of brought everyone to the same spot. We said, if you're not supposed to like leave your home and you're supposed to work at home, we kind of bring our work and our home together. And at the time we were in an accelerator that encouraged actually doing that, which was helpful. But as the team grew, of course, we couldn't move every team member into a home and work together. And so, the tools that we adopted and used, some of the more household name ones are, Slack, Zoom, and things like that. One tool we use that might not be super well known is something called Sidekick. And so Sidekick is sidekick.video is the domain. And they make a product that's like a mini iPad that just sits on your desk. And then it's like an always on, but muted video. And so it gives a sense of like presence. And we kind of park these like next to our desks where when you're, on for the day, like you'll turn your Sidekick on and it just kind of sits there unobstructed of what's going on. But then if you have like a quick question and like the serendipity that kind of happens in an in-person office that's hard to create remotely, the Sidekick sort of is there for that. Candidly, even since we've grown, like that hasn't even scaled super well. Like some folks use Sidekick and others don't. But it has been like it was instrumental for us, especially when we were like right around that like 5, 6 person team where it's really important to have everyone kind of in the same direction. So a few sort of different technologies, and kind of a funny, like, growing the company at the same time as like facing a pandemic that led to some fun decisions over the last year and a half.
Thank you, Joseph. Benjamin, you are leading Certintell Telehealth. You're in a growing sector. Can you tell us a practice, policy, or piece of technology that you've used over the last year and a half or so?
Yeah, I would say for myself, one of the things we had to get down was kind of our policy, and I'll explain. So yeah, we are a telehealth company, so you think we know how to do remote engagement very, very well. But as an organization, when you have kind of a clinical side tied to your business model and an operational side, using different tools internally, and then both are doing some more customer facing initiatives, kind of putting a policy in place on what tools we're going to use, because it was kind of tough. We had a lot of hodgepodges for tools in between. And so from a policy perspective, I mean, we could not have been successful without kind of creating a policy about, okay, here's the tools you're going to use internally with your kind of your clinical team, operational team, and that. But when we're both engaging with a client, prospect, or what have you, making sure we had a policy of in sync of what tools we're using to engage in that way. And that was certainly a learning experience for us, and not really coming together and collaborating on that. We would not have been as successful as we were. So all in all, just understanding when you have multiple different team segments that are using maybe different tools that make them effective internally, when you're customer facing or process facing or outside of your organization, get a policy in place and what tools you're going to use in this remote environment. And that was a critical piece we had to get in place to be successful.
Thank you. Mikayla, you are a senior associate at ISA Ventures. Can you tell me what ISA Ventures has done in the last year or so, a practice, policy, or piece of technology to operate successfully?
Yeah, I think like many others, we've adapted a lot of tech resources, Slack, Zoom, we use Airtable a lot. But I think one of the things that we've been intentional about too, like our team is all kind of spread out across the state of Iowa, that we don't necessarily have like a central hub where we all come into the office every day now that we're kind of moving out of the pandemic. So I think kind of having that space to bring your full person into the workplace and connect on a personal level with your coworkers and your team, and being intentional about having some space to do that has allowed us to, strengthen our team more so than just focusing on the work. And so I think that's a really important piece that we don't always spend a lot of time talking about. We're all working from home, and so it's easy to get caught up in that workflow and just go, go, go. But having that space to, check in with your coworkers and say, how was your weekend? Or, just kind of making that personal connection, I think just strengthens team productivity and increases overall happiness of the team. And so I think that piece is really important as well.